Robin of the Loving Heart by Emma Endicott Marian. Please, Mother, tell us a story. Have him a woodchopper boy this time, please, Mother, quick, for Elizabeth is sleepy already. Oh, Mother, hurry. So here is the story. Once upon a time there was a little boy who lived all alone with his parents in the heart of a deep wood. His father was a woodchopper who worked hard in the forest all day, while the mother kept everything tidy at home and took care of Robin. Robin was an obliging, sunny-hearted little fellow who chopped the kindling as sturdily as his father chopped the dead trees and broken branches, and then he brought the water and turned the spit for his mother. As there were no other children in the great forest, he made friends with the animals and learned to understand their talk. In the spring the mother Robin, for whom he thought he was named, called him to see the blue eggs in her nest, and in the autumn the squirrels chatted with him and brought him nuts. But his four dearest friends were the owl, who came to his window evenings and gave him wise counsel, the hare, who played hide and seek with him around the bushes, the eagle, who brought him strange pebbles and shells from the distant seashore, and the lion, who, for friendship's sake, had quite reformed his habits and his appetite, so that he lapped milk from Robin's bowl and simply adored breakfast foods. Suddenly all the happiness in the little cottage was turned to mourning, when the good woodchopper was taken ill, and the mother was at her wits' end to take care of him and to provide bread and milk. Robin's heart burned within him to do something to help, but he could not swing an axe with his little hands. "Ah," he said that night to his friend the owl, "if I were a great knight, perhaps I could ride to the city and win the prize for good luck." "And what is the prize for good luck?" asked the owl, who knew everything in the world except that. Illustration: the owl called a council of Robin's best friends. Then Robin explained that the lovely princess, whose hair was like spun gold and whose eyes were like the blue forget-me-nots by the brook, had lost her precious amulet, given to her by her godmother, which kept her, as long as it lay on her neck, healthy and beautiful and happy. One day, when she was playing in the flower garden, the little gold chain snapped and the amulet rolled away. Everybody in the palace had searched, the soldiers had been called out to help, and all the small boys had been organized into an amulet brigade, for what they cannot see is usually not worth seeing at all. But no one could find it, and in the meantime the princess grew pale, and, truth to tell, rather cross. Her hair dulled a little, and her eyes looked like forget-me-nots drowned in the brook. When the court philosopher reasoned the matter out and discovered that the amulet had been carried far away, perhaps outside the kingdom, the king offered the prize for good luck for its return. "Now, if I could win the prize for good luck," said Robin, "we should have bread and milk all the time, and mother need not work so hard." Then the owl in her wisdom called a council of Robin's best friends, and asked them what they were going to do about it. They waited respectfully for her advice, and this was her wonderful plan. "Robin could win the prize for good luck," declared the owl, "if only he were wise and swift and clear-sighted and strong enough. Now I will lend him my wisdom. The hare shall lend his swiftness, the eagle shall lend his eyesight, and the lion shall lend his strength." And thus it was agreed. Then the owl went back to little Robin's window and explained the plan. "You must remember," she said warningly, "time is precious. It is almost morning now. I cannot long spare my wisdom, for who would guide the feathered folk? If the hare cannot run, how can he escape the fox? If the eagle cannot see, he will dash himself into the cliff if he flies, and he will starve to death if he sits still. If the lion's strength is gone, the wolves will be the first to know it. Return, then, without delay, at the stroke of 9 o'clock tomorrow night. We shall await you here. Now go quickly, for rather would I die than live like the feather-brained blue jay." Immediately Robin felt himself so strong and so brave that he hesitated not a minute. Swift as a hare he hastened to the palace, and at daybreak he blew the mighty horn that announced the coming of one who would seek for the amulet. The king groaned when he saw him, sure that it would be a vain quest for such a little fellow. The truth was that the court philosopher feared the amulet had been stolen by the ogre of Ogre Castle, but no one dared to mention the fact, much less to ask the ogre to return it. The princess, however, immediately sat up and took notice, charmed by the brave light in Robin's eyes and his merry smile. Robin asked to be taken up into the highest tower of the palace, and there, looking leagues and leagues away to Ogre Castle, he saw with his eagle sight the amulet, glowing like sunlight imprisoned in a ruby. The ogre was turning it over and over in his hand, muttering to himself, in the stupid way ogres always have, "It must be a nut, for I can see something good inside." Robin could not hear him, but he was sure, by the help of the owl's wisdom, that it was the amulet. Illustration: at daybreak Robin blew the mighty horn. In a trice, That means while you count 3, Robin was speeding away with the hare's swiftness toward Ogre Castle, and in a few minutes he was demanding the amulet from the ogre. Now usually the ogre was not at all a disagreeable fellow, and the owl's wisdom would have easily sufficed to enable Robin to secure the amulet without trouble, but he had just tried to crack the amulet with his teeth. It broke off the very best tooth he had in his head, and his poor jaws ached so that he was in a very bad temper. He turned fiercely, and for a few minutes Robin needed all the strength the lion had given him. Illustration: the princess waved her lily hand to Robin. After all, the ogre was one of the pneumatic tire, hot water bag kind of giants, who flat out if you stick a pin into them and lie perfectly limp until they are bandaged up and set going once more. That is really a secret, but Robin knew it by the help of the owl's wisdom, and he was not the least little bit afraid. So Robin managed to get the amulet away without too much difficulty, and the hare's swiftness quickly took him back to the palace. When the princess, who was watching from the tower window, saw the rosy light of the amulet in the distance, pinkness came back to her cheeks, and her eyes shone like stars, and she waved her lily hand to Robin in perfect happiness. Ah, such a merrymaking as they planned for that evening. Robin was to receive the prize for good luck, so much gold coin that it would take 3 carts and 6 mules to carry it back to the cottage. The king counted out money all the afternoon, and the queen put up darts and jars of honey for Robin to take to his mother, and the princess gave him her photograph. Now comes the sad part. It had taken so much time to reach the palace, to explain to the king, to ascend the tower and find the amulet, to conquer the ogre of Ogre Castle, and to return to the palace, that it was almost night before Robin realized it. When the money had been counted out and the darts wrapped in paraffin paper and the pots of honey packed in excelsior, it was 7 o'clock. Now the party was to begin at 9, for the princess had to have her white satin frock sent home from the dressmaker, and her hair had to be curled. The Punch and Judy was to come at 10, and the ice cream was to be served at 11, for in palaces people keep terribly late hours, not at all good for them. Just as Robin had dressed himself in a beautiful blue velvet suit, thinking how fine it was that he should open the dance with the princess and how lucky it was that he had the strength of a lion, so that he could dance at all after his busy day, he suddenly remembered his promise to the owl. It was such a shock that, in spite of the lion's strength, he nearly fainted. Then he went quickly to the king and told him that he must go away at once. The king was very angry and bade him have done with such nonsense. "Faith, you must stay," he said crossly. "There would be no living with the princess if her party is spoiled. Besides, you will lose the prize for good luck, for the people have been promised that they shall see it presented to somebody tonight and we must not disappoint them." Illustration: the saucy blue jay mocked the fluttering owl. Poor Robin's heart was heavy. How could he lose all that he had gained and go away as poor as when he came? That wasn't all nor half of all. To lose the money would be bad, but he had much more to lose than that. For one day he had enjoyed the fun of being stronger and wiser and swifter and keener-sighted than anybody else. Isn't that better than money and all the prizes for good luck? Yes, indeed, his heart answered over and over again. How could he go back and give up the wisdom and the swiftness and the clear sight and the strength, even if he could give up the money? I know now, he thought bitterly, how the owl felt when she said she would not be a feather brain like the blue jay. And it is much more important for a boy to be strong than for a common old lion, who is pretty old anyway. And there are lots of hares in the forest and eagles on the mountain. Then Robin slowly climbed the stairs to the tower, for he thought he would see what the owl and the hare and eagle and the lion were doing in the forest. He looked over to the cottage, leagues and leagues away. There, under a big oak, lay the owl, her feathers all a-flutter. She had had no more sense than to go out in the brilliant sunshine, and something had gone wrong inside her head. The saucy blue jay stood back and mocked her. Robin's heart gave one little throb of pity, but he was wise enough to see the value of wisdom, and he hardened himself. "I don't believe she has sense enough to know that anything is wrong," he said to himself. Then he looked for the hare. "Oh, he's all right," said Robin, gladly, but just then he saw a dark shape, only about a mile away, following the hare's track. Robin's heart gave 2 throbs of pity. "Poor old hare," he said. "I have had lots of fun with him." Then he looked for the eagle, and his heart beat hard and fast when he saw him sitting alone on the dead branch of a tree, one wing hanging bruised, perhaps broken, and his sightless eyes turned toward the tower, waiting, blind. Illustration: It followed the hare's track. Robin looked quickly for the lion. For a time he could not find him, for tears came in his eyes as he thought of the eagle. Then he saw the poor creature, panting from thirst, trying to drag himself to the river. He was almost there when his last bit of strength seemed to fail, and he lay still, with the water only a few yards away. Then Robin's heart leaped and bounded with pity, and with pure gladness, too, that he was not yet too late to save his friends from the consequences of their own generosity. The last rays of sunset struck the tower as Robin, forgetting all about his blue velvet clothes and the princess and the prize for good luck, ran and raced, up hill and down, through brambles and briars, over bogs and hummocks, leaving bits of lace caught on the bushes. Swifter than ever he hastened to the ogre of Ogre Castle or to the lovely princess with the amulet. Illustration. He saw the poor creature panting from thirst. Illustration. He saw the blind eagle sitting alone in the tree. He was there. Oh, yes, he was there long before 9 o'clock. The owl received back her wisdom, and I can tell you that she soon sent the saucy blue jay packing. The hare had his swiftness, and the fox was left so far behind that he was soon glad to limp back home and eat the plain supper that Mrs. Fox had prepared for him. The poor blind eagle opened his eyes, and saw the moon and the stars, and, better than moon and stars, the loving face of his comrade, Robin. The lion drank his fill, and said that now he would like some breakfast food, please. So the story ended happily after all. Oh, yes, I forgot about the prize for good luck, didn't I? When the king told the princess that Robin was foolish enough to give back the wisdom and the swiftness and the clear sight and the strength that had won the prize for him, and that without them he was only a very common little boy, not good enough for a princess to dance with, she stamped her foot and called for the godmother who gave her the amulet in the first place. Then the princess's godmother said that the princess for once was quite right, that Robin must have the 3 cartloads of gold coin drawn by 6 mules, and the tarts and honey for his mother, and whenever the princess gave another party she must ask him to open the dance with her, blue velvet suit or no blue velvet suit, because, said the godmother, there is one thing better than wisdom or swiftness or clear sight or strength, and that is a loving heart. But Elizabeth had gone to sleep.